Hey everybody, Chris from Plays with Water here. We got an exciting video for you here. I finally got to set up my 75-gallon tank once again. Now, like I said in my last video on the 125-gallon Malawi tank, I bought this tank January of 2019. I stocked it with some peacocks and haps. They outgrew it. Got a 125 for a really good deal. Put them in there. 75 went in the garage. So ever since I tore this tank down, I've been trying to come up with a reason to set it back up again. Well, that leads me to the second reason why I'm excited about this video, was I finally got to rehome my Frontosa cichlids. I had bought two of them. They were about an inch or so big back in July, August of last year, and they outgrew that 29. Go figure. So, next logical step, pop them into the 75. So that's pretty cool. Now the third thing is I got to buy some fish. I haven't bought fish in months. Probably maybe January. I don't even know what it could have been. Maybe something for their 45-gallon cube. I'm not even really sure. But I know it's been a long time. I haven't bought any cichlids because they're all big now, so it's kind of weird trying to find a fish big enough to put in there that isn't going to disrupt everything. But long story short, got some fish that will go with the Frontosas, so let's dive into what we did. Okay, so here we are in the middle of the African Rift Valley, but it's in my basement in New England. There's something about having the two big tanks in an L shape like this. I just think it's really cool. On one side we got Malawi, and on this side we got Tanganyika. Now, as far as water parameters and temperature, they're both running a higher pH, running just about 80 degrees. So that's all the same. How I scape the tanks is a little different. Very little rock work for the Malawis because they like that open space to swim in. But we're not talking about them today. We're talking about Tanganyika. You're going to have a lot of rock piles in there for fish to dart in and out of. The Frontosas aren't going to really do that. But being who I am, I couldn't just have Frontosa in there. So we got some other fish that are going to really utilize those rock piles and whatnot. As far as the lighting, Malawi looks a little off tonight. I think it's the blues. And that's probably because I had to steal the blue LED light to put on this tank temporarily. I do have another 4-foot blue LED light coming in, but not sure when it's coming in. I want to get this video out because I'm really excited about these guys. So let's dive into what's in there. So here we are. Wait a minute. I didn't show you how I set this up. Let's rewind and set this tank up. Hey, Chris with Plays with Water here. Today's video, we're going to be relocating my Frontosa cichlids into their new tank. Now, I've been talking about this in some previous videos, and since it's actually not going to cost me any money to set this up because I have everything already, we're going to focus on doing that in this video. I'm going to show you how I'm going to instantly cycle this tank, the substrate I'm going to be using, the lights, all that good stuff. So let's get to it. Okay, so the basement's a little bit of a mess right now. I had to relocate and move things around. I had to move my desk over there, move Clementine and the Frontosas temporarily over here so that I can make room for the desk. But by moving the desk, I now have my 75-gallon tanks back in place. Now, this light I was using on the 125 to give me my blue lights. I do have another light on order, but who knows when it's going to be showing up. For substrate, I got fresh aragonite, and that's just some aquarium salt I had sprinkled in there, which will get dissolved once we add water. Now, the condition of this tank isn't great. The seals are fine, but it's all scratched up. I had gotten this tank secondhand, and it originally was housing my Lake Malawi cichlids until I upgraded to the 125. So this tank still might be temporary. I'll probably get a new 75 or another 125 for the Frontosas down the road. But being they're only, 3.5 inches, and they are slow growers, this 75 should suffice for quite a while. Now I did just move this tank last night and they got a big water change. Obviously I had to take all the water out. And look how nice and clear it already is. So even though that tank's pretty murky right now, it does have new substrate in it and it's completely all new water. But that should clear up pretty quick. So let's get this filter out of here. Yeah, this little filter I picked up at the Reptile Expo for $7 and it has been awesome. And filter for $7, can't complain about that. All right, so we got that off. Let's throw it in our bucket. And let's hook it up to some air. And of course, you guys can't see it too well from there. Now, it's not a real powerhouse route right now, because that's actually the air pump I'm usually running on the wall set column for our beta. I put another filter in there just for the time being to get this going. So let's get our quick start in. Now, as per the instructions, it wants you to put 10 milliliters for every 10 gallons. So that's about 80 milliliters. This bottle is 118 milliliters, so it treats up to 110 gallons. So we're just going to dump the entire thing in there as soon as I can get it open. Alright, so we're going to prepare a bucket full of tank water for the frontoses to go in while we transfer them over. So I'm going to take this length of hose, I'm going to fill it with water. I'm holding it shut. This hose is completely full of water. Now both thumbs still on. I'm going to stick one end into my tank, the other towards the bucket. I'm going to release them. Instant siphon. Moving water is not that difficult if you know how hydraulics work. So this water we're going to house the frontoses in for probably like 10-15 minutes while I do the rest of my swap over of all the rocks, which are full of beneficial bacteria, and that new filter sponge. They're going to go into the new setup, which has the old filters running in it. So essentially, we're just doing a gigantic water change. We're keeping all the surface areas and all the rocks, the sand, the decor, full of bacteria and wet. I got my water in a bucket for the frontoses. I'm draining out some water from the 75 to make room for the new water in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to water change that water into this tank now. Okay, so I caught the fish out of their current tank. They're in their bucket that we filled with tank water earlier. I got one last filter to move over, and it's the new filter that I put in when I moved this tank over from the other side of the room. So we're going to do that now. Alright, so that's in place. Feed it through here. Plug it into our air pump. Close her up and see how it's looking. Alright, now, you saw how I had the water pumping out of here and then from that tank into this tank. So I have a good 20 gallons of the water from that tank in here. So with all that mixed in all my rocks, the core, I'm going to scoop out the sand from there. All my beneficial bacteria has been successfully transferred from that tank to this tank. So really in the end, it's just a big water change. And African cichlids are fine with big water changes. The lakes are so large, in the wild they're having 100% water changes all the time. The big thing is your bacteria. So just understanding that your bacteria is the life support of your system, being able to move all that over with the least amount of mortality from them is your best option, and that's how you instantly cycle a tank. And here's the tank now. My new additions. We got two of these guys, two gold-headed comps, and three Neolonchologus lelupi. The frontosas are out and about, a lot less shy from the last time you guys saw them in the fishing tour. Other than the scratches on the tank, like I said, this was a tank received secondhand. It looks great in there. And it's only going to get clearer once I really start getting into a water change routine with these guys. Granted, I won't have to do as big or frequent water changes as I do on the Malawi tank because of the lower stock levels. But this is just, I'm really excited about these guys. They're not quite as eye-popping as the Malawis, but it's a much more easy-going tank, so far anyway. And they are some interesting-looking fish. I mean, look at the snout on these guys. Now, just like the Frontosa, they're a very slow-growing fish. They're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches now. It was quite a treat to be able to pick up these fish. I knew I wanted some lelupi for this tank, and so I posted up on a local Facebook aquarium keeping page if anybody knew that if these guys had them in stock, because I know fish store stock levels are a little on the low side currently. And a guy that messaged me says, "Hey, I got 3 of them plus 2 comps that I would sell you for a really reasonable price." And go figure, he lived 10 minutes away from me. So I picked these guys up earlier today, got them home, acclimated them, good old flop and drop into the tank, and they started eating and swimming around as if they were born and raised in there. I will be adding more rock work once I get my hands on it. But just like all things I'm doing during this pandemic, I'm trying to keep everything on the cheap. Alright, so that's how we set up the Lake Tanganyika tank for my Frontosas with some new additions. Now, I know it's not purely just Tanganyikan because I have my crackjaw morai cichlid in there. If you go back and watch my fish room tour video, I explain about how he came into my possession. I had bought him, got him home, put him in the tank, and noticed that his jaw was completely dislocated. I nursed him back to health. He survived. He's great with the Frontosas, doesn't bother anybody. So this is where he's staying for now. If there is an issue, I do have options. I could put him in the 29 gallon, or if I feel he's tough enough, I could put him in with the other Malawis. So I do have options with him. But other than that, I think the tank looks spectacular. I may add some more fish here and there, but I do have to keep in mind that those Frontosas are even going to outgrow this tank. But I probably got a good year of being able to house them in the 75 gallon. But hey, in a year, if I gotta get another big tank, I think I'll be okay with that. So, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit follow, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for tuning in, guys.